everybody. Welcome to tonight's edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room. And it's always a pleasure to welcome on our show two of our favorite guests from Bloemfontein in South Africa, Louzanne Coetzee and Claus Kempen. Ladies first, Louzanne, how are you? How are things going?
Hey, Louis, it's great to be back. I'm really starting to feel like family. So, thank you for having us back. I'm doing very well, thank you. I hope you are too.
I am definitely, and it's interesting that you say it sounds like we are family, because if people could have heard the conversation before we started recording this podcast, you would have thought there's a couple of brothers and sisters and maybe a father in the middle there who's got a real struggle, because Claus Kempen, hello, how are you?
Thanks for setting me up like that. It's going well on this side. The only difference between I wouldn't call you family, because family you can't choose, and I will choose you guys every day of the week and twice on a Sunday. So it's great being back.
Now, that was exactly what I wanted to hear from you. So thank you very much. You may stay on the podcast. Otherwise, we were going to send the naughty brother away. All right, serious note, guys. 2024 is a massive year for you. Let's start off with what is the closest event that you're going to be participating in. Tell us a bit about your foundation and your fun run coming up on Saturday, Louzanne.
Yeah, Louis, we are very excited to be partnering with two great names in Bloemfontein. We are partnering with Bloemfontein Striders, which is a running club. So they will be organizing the logistics on the 2nd of March for the Mimosa Mall Fun Run. And Mimosa is actually the one who initiated this. And then the foundation, when we established the foundation, they wanted to partner with us. So we are very happy and fortunate for Saturday. And we're also very excited because this will be our first huge local partnership with a local company and organization as the foundation. I cannot wait for Saturday. And I think the runners are going to be blown away by an amazing event in Bloemfontein.
Plus, it's quite strange, and please, this is not meant as a negative, but it is quite strange that it's taken so long for the Bloemfontein community to actually get behind Louzanne in such a way.
Yeah, Louis, I think it's the Bloem community has always been behind Louzanne. We must just give them a platform, and it's very easy to start a foundation and do the paperwork. But if you want to do it properly and you really want to achieve your goals and objectives, then you want to get the right partners to make sure it's sustainable and people don't feel it's like donating to a black hole in that sense. So I think it's the way Louzanne does everything is to rather do something properly, and that's why she always, not easy, but it's easy to jump onto an event. But this event is something that she looked at and said, okay, but I can associate with the way Mimosa Mall is doing things and how they want to do this race. So I'm really excited seeing that. We always complain and saying, Bloem, we're not getting all the stuff that Cape Town and Joburg and Durban is getting. And I really think that Mimosa Mall stepped up in the sense that the people we're not even going to call it goodie bags, but they're going to get greaty bags, if that's a word. That is not a word. But they're really stepping up to deliver some kind of experience instead of just a transaction. So, okay, come do a race, mileage ticked. It's about the experience and then involving Louzanne in her name as Louzanne Coetzee, the brand itself, and then obviously for the bigger purpose with the foundation. So, the people are behind her, and we're now sort of actually only giving back something. I think that's a better way.
Has it been very difficult, Louzanne, to actually put your name to a foundation? I mean, it's humbling, and you're very humble. I mean, you don't sometimes sound that you're very humble, but you are a humble person. No, I don't mean that in a nasty way. You're outgoing and you're outspoken, and you have a wonderful public personality.
Thank you.
But you're not the kind of person that promotes your name out there like others do, on social medias and TikToks and things like that. So was it difficult for you to decide to actually use your name like you have?
No, Louis, no, not in this way, because I think Claus and I, when we were in Tokyo, it was definite that we wanted a way to give back to the South African community. And for me, what I really enjoy, and I hope it doesn't sound too cliched, but this is for me, it's not about me specifically. It's about us giving back to different people in different communities where they're going to need it. So it wasn't difficult for me. And for me, it's a great honor that, people are actually backing us and backing the cause, because that to me says that it's not just our cause. It's a cause that people can get behind and people can actually involve themselves with.
All right, so tell us a bit more about the foundation and what the plans are, what you've done and what you're going to do.
Our foundation is very new. We finalized all the paperwork and things 2022, end of 2023. What my aims and I really want to do some grassroots level development in the South African community in terms of athletes with disabilities. So for me, I think there's a lot of stories out there that can be shared. And I think because sometimes financial constraints and education is a real problem in our country, those stories don't get shared. And I think not just in the media, but those stories can actually make a very powerful impact if you only look at their specific communities. And for me, it's about creating that impact and enabling those athletes to chase dreams and to chase opportunities and and I think something specific I think that I know is also close to Klaus's heart, and he's always he's communicated this need to me before, but is to how to get people involved with guide running, and the foundation is a great way to also do that. We did a running clinic in Louis Trichardt in 2022 where we actually took blind and visually impaired kids from primary and secondary school there, and we presented a running clinic to them, and it opened our eyes to the actual potential there is in South Africa and how these people can get involved in sport. Some of these kids they've gotten official classifications and they participate in national championships. So I think there's a lot out there that we can contribute as athletes as well to our community.
Plus, obviously, it's an unbelievable foundation and it's an unbelievable job that both the two of you are doing, and not just yourselves, but other sportsmen and women in their various fields that put together these foundations. Now, I know this might sound like a difficult question, but you've run many, many miles, you've hit walls, and you can answer this because I know you can. How do you feel when you hear reports, and if you haven't heard it, you're going to hear it from me now, that the Department of Sports and Recreation sent 2 individuals to the Rugby World Cup that cost 1.6 million rand? You also hear of the 14-odd officials that went to the Rugby World Cup spending 17,000 rand a day on a VIP car, 7,000 rand a day on a business class lounge at an airport, which you and Louzanne have spent many, many hours in airports and didn't need to go and sit, particularly at 7,000 rand a day in business class lounge. And some ridiculous figure of approximately 14 million rand just for them to go to the semi-final and the final of the Rugby World Cup. When you think of the thousands and thousands of people that are running around with no shoes, with no training facilities, no ability to actually participate in their sports, and that's the kind of money that is being spent on sending 2 people or 3 people to go and watch a rugby game, which all of us were able to watch on big screen televisions back in South Africa.
Louis, I think that was almost more of a statement than a question. I think what makes me excited is if you think the budget speech that happened last week and the analysis of that. At the end of the day, there's many things to point out that we can do better, but there's also opportunity. So with the budget, the government is going to take hands with the private sector, and hopefully there can be a better service delivery overall. And I think that's the role for me, for this foundation and maybe other foundations. We can point fingers and we can say, but that money could have come to us to work with it, or it could have been developed, so we don't have to do it. But you know what? There is an opportunity now to take hands with the need in wherever we see it, and we want to make it work. So it's unfortunate that private individuals need to step into something that's potentially can be done by a government or that is budgeted for. However, it is actually wonderful to have opportunity and not just to sit back and think everybody else must do this. And I'm talking from kids at school. I can't just expect the teachers to teach my kids, but I would rather take hands and then at the end of the day get a better product out of it, realistically.
Ever the politician, my goodness. So it was not meant to be a statement, but it is just the reality. And Louzanne, I mean, you more so than Claus are the one that will be sitting at a press conference and might very well be asked those kind of questions when you travel around the world. I mean, it is a situation that needs to be adjusted somewhere.
Yeah, it definitely, I think there can be work, there's lots of things that can be done, and there's lots of things that I would do differently. I think as an athlete, though, I think I try to not step into these situations too much, because it is going to be, I don't want my focus to be on how this is going to impact. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't want a negative connotation when I go and represent South Africa. That's not the first thing I want to think about. So I think it's a very complex issue. And like I say, I think there's many things that I would not necessarily do in the same way. But for me, I cannot afford my focus to be there, because if my focus is going to be there, I'm going to arrive on that start line a negative athlete and a negative person. And at all costs as athletes, you don't want that to happen. You want to avoid that. And if that only for the reason of making your local community, your family, people like you guys proud, that is enough for me to do it, and to try to shift my focus away from that. And, that might change in the future when I move over to, if I go into coaching or sport management at a later stage, then, the focus will be different. But for me now, the focus is on the community and the people I'm representing overseas, if that makes sense.
Right. Let's get off the difficult questions and let's get on to the ones that I know you love to talk about. Tell us about the Mimosa Mall, and tell us about the race on Saturday, what we can expect, if anybody can still enter, how does this work?
Yeah, so we would love, if we have visitors or if you have people traveling across South Africa that might be available on Saturday, there's a 5K fun run, and there's a 21K and a 10K race. You're going to get a great goodie bag. I'm very excited. I think it's going to be a better goodie bag a lot of big races in South Africa might get, because there's quite a lot of sponsors on board. Checkers, Panarottis, Aeronautica, Eurocafe, which are some of our local restaurants. So there's going to be many nice things for you. I think there's also going to be a great race village at the mall. There's going to be some exciting lucky draws. I think the value that they said over OFM was 37,000 rands lucky draws, and that's excluding prize money, which is huge for a local race. Yeah, and they've put their hearts and souls into the arrangement and the organization, and I think we're going to feel it on Saturday, because it's a family event. It's going to be fun, and I think there's going to be lots to do for everyone. So if people can, they can still enter today online. Tomorrow there will still be entries for the 5K. If you start having FOMO like me, I have a lot of FOMO in life. So yeah, if you have FOMO and you're scared to do the 10, or you don't want to, you want to just walk the 5, there will still be entries for the 5 tomorrow and on Saturday morning early. So yeah, it would be wonderful if people could come out and join us.
So I just need to clear something up, and I only know this because I have children in their 20s. FOMO is fear of missing out. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, so it's not something in the bath that you get with salt.
No, but FOMO, it's a big problem for me.
Claus, how difficult is it going to be to keep a competitive spirit out of Louzanne and just have a fun run on the weekend?
So luckily that will be her husband's job, because I'm going to be the MC at the event. I think we might just lost a few people wanted to enter now. But yeah, so I'm going to be behind the mic. So I'm not running. Louzanne is going to set off the people. Very dangerous. They're going to give her a gun. Luckily just with blanks, with a 21 and a 10. And then she's going to also do the 5K with John Ray. So he's going to be the one that has to make sure she doesn't slip away and go and run the 21 with somebody. So that's the thing, we had to give her responsibilities, otherwise she would have wanted to do this. But I mean, that's why I've got kids. Then I know how to treat them.
Okay, let's get more serious now if we can, because there's two massive events coming up. Never mind fun runs. The ones where I know the competitor juices are going to be right up there. The first one, the TotalSports 2 Oceans Marathon. How's the training going for that?
It's going well. We are pacing again, so we will be back in that 2-hour bus. But training is going well. We are ready for the masses and the crowds. We are very excited. I'm very excited to be going back, and very honored that they asked us to pace again. That means at least I'm doing something right. And then, so we're very excited for April. It's nice and early in April this time. And I think it's going to be a huge event. I'm very excited. I think after COVID, things are starting to look up again. And I think we're starting to see numbers coming back. Super excited for Oceans. Can't wait.
And Claus, yourself, injury free?
Yeah, I mean, if you can call turning 40 injury, then there's a big one coming on for me. So I'm relatively happy for where I am. Well, I'm not relatively. I'm very happy. So injury free, training's going well, and excited for Oceans. And I mean, just 2 months has passed now. Always, it's the last day of Feb. And I mean, it's basically 6 months, and then it's the big one. So it's actually, we're very grateful to be having a few events in between, and then obviously like Oceans, that's very social for us. Then you don't focus on the Paralympics that much with the stress wise. Obviously, the training wise is focused there, but it helps to keep my nerves in place.
Right, you mentioned it already. Paralympics, the Olympics 2024. Zon, which events will you be participating in this time around?
So we've qualified for both again. So we've qualified for the marathon and we've qualified for the 1500. So hopefully both. So qualification is done. Just waiting for the final selection criteria to come out. So for para athletes, it's a little bit more complicated than for able bodies. So you don't just qualify. You go through a bit of a ringer. So just waiting for the final selection criteria to come out, and then we will double up again, and hopefully we will be able to achieve the same better results than we did in Tokyo. Training is going super well. We've finished our base phase. We're now moving over into a more speed endurance phase training. So things are looking up.
Claus, does it change much having to pace a TotalSports 2 Oceans Marathon in an Olympic year in terms of training?
Louis, no, I think it fits in well as long as you communicate that with your coach. You never want to fall and hurt yourself. So that's the main thing with a big race like Oceans or anything, is that you have to be on the lookout because there's a lot at stake. But I mean that all the Louzanne guides look out for in that way. So I think that's the biggest adaptation, is just the thing that you have to look out very carefully. But otherwise, the training we're probably going to have a very hard training session on the Saturday, and then be doing the 21 on the Sunday as well. I'm saying as a recovery run, but we're doing it very seriously. I mean, 2 hours on the Oceans is not easy, we will incorporate that into our training. That's also why we're not. We've sort of said just keep us on ice for the 56, because as soon as it goes over 21, then you then it will have a bigger influence on your training program. So
I'm sure it does. Louzanne, when you look at a year like this, and you live in Bloemfontein, which is clearly not the coolest part of the world, and then no. I mean, weather-wise, no, man.
No, oh yes.
No, weather-wise, the coolest part in the world, and then she's giving me a hard time like she does you, Claus. When you go from the extreme heat, the cold weather of winter, and then back to Paris in what will be extreme heat, how difficult is it to adjust?
Louis, we'll probably do some midday training in winter. That worked pretty well when we went to Tokyo. So we did some 12 o'clock sessions in the winter. So that works pretty well. we've had a few very hot weeks in Bloem this year and the end of last year. So we've tried to work around that, because often it does more harm if you train in extreme heat for the following days. I mean, you would know it doesn't help you train hard this afternoon in 38 and tomorrow morning you can't lift your head. So yeah, we try to work around that, but I think definitely we will incorporate some midday sessions later in the year just to make sure that we experience some heat. And obviously with our speed sessions, it's going to be better to do them when it's hot, not when it's cold and dark.
And do you feel much pressure to perform, bearing in mind how well you did last time at the Olympics?
I won't lie, it changes you a little bit. So I am feeling some pressure, but I think the best thing to do is to just work through that with somebody who can manage your performance and can help you mentally. But yeah, I am feeling some pressure, not in a bad way. I'm feeling it in a good way.
And you're not part of that pressure, Klaus?
Yeah, I think we only have time for her to answer that. But I must say, Louis, I think I really take my hat off to Louzanne in the sense of how she handles all of this pressure, these types of questions. Because unfortunately, once you've performed well, the expectation is there. And it's so easy to throw the word around like, oh, are you going to medal? Yes, we want the gold and that type of thing. And it's all in great sort of support and spirit. But when you go home and you have to close your eyes and sleep, then you say, oh, shucks, what if I do not deliver? Because, I really take off my hat off to her because I think I prefer to be the underdog. And at this stage, she's really like one of our favorites. So that's cool. But she's handling it well.
How much pressure's on you, though? I mean, let's remember who almost didn't make it into the stadium.
Yeah, love you, Louis. I love you.
Lulu, so I've we had quite serious discussions on this to make sure that my reputation won't be able to handle it if or my ego, whatever you want to call it, if I am the reason for Louzanne not performing well. So I've been really training hard, trying to look after myself. But at this stage, I think the pressure is also on. But if it happens, I didn't really want to stay in Japan. But I would probably be able to stay in Paris if needs be. If something happens and you don't see me, then I'll stay there.
How difficult is it though, Klaus? I mean, we know the pressure's on you, and jokes aside, for you to stop overtraining because of the fear of the same thing almost happening again. Can you yourself make sure that you keep that balance right?
Yeah, I think if it's about ability, then the pressure is really there. Because if you can't perform because of you're just too slow, then it's a different kind of pressure. And that's why, Estienne is part of our trio, because he just brings out the X factor. When it comes to the pressure of performing on the day, at least we are relatively mature athletes in the sense that we know what happened, we can process it, and then we can deliver on that. So my nutrition and how I hydrate on races, those kind of things. So it's very manageable if it's within your performance. I hope you don't have to take me onto the track. That's difficult.
Yeah, it's in individual sports and team sports. If one person fails, you let the team down. Maybe in your case, if you happen to fail, you let the star down. It's not. I know it's a team sport. You are a team, the two of you, but at the end of the day, the recognition goes to Louzanne, not to you. But anyway, that's something that we will hopefully never have to discuss again. It's been an absolute pleasure having both of you on the program. As always, we love chatting to you. We will be following you throughout the whole year. And let me just clear something up. I do think Bloemfontein is really cool. It's not.
Thank you. Thank you. Now I feel better. Now I can have a good Saturday. Always wonderful. Thank you for being such a great host. And to your team, Nick, and the team behind the scenes, thank you so much for always welcoming us and always being interested. That's really a big part of also, sport. You want to share your story and you want to get the message out there. So thank you as well for having us on the show so much. and making us feel like your family. It's really amazing.
You certainly are, Claus. Thank you. Louzanne, thank you.
Thank you, Louis.
That's tonight's edition of From the Boardroom to the Locker Room. I hope you've enjoyed listening to it as much as I have enjoyed it. That's tonight's show. As always, be nice to each other. Until next time, bye for now.